Hello again. We're going to discuss Rachel Reeves today, and I'm going to follow this up with some videos in the future. I believe that Rachel Reeves has the look of somebody that's taken on a job that's too big for her. Instinct tells you this. I don't know whether you've ever worked in a company before and somebody's been promoted for whatever reason it is, and it hasn't been a right promotion, a correct promotion, if you know what I mean, nepotism, or somebody getting a job because their mate's a senior manager there, or whatever it is. You've probably seen this before. And these people are elevated to this new position. So they get this job, and the job's just too big for them. They're not able to fulfill. And you can watch this person slowly implode over a period of time. Now, sometimes people get used to a job, and so the saying goes, if you sit in the seat long enough, then you'll be to do the job. But some people take on jobs that are too big for them. When you look at a picture of Rachel Reeves with this case here, about to deliver her big budget, her big announcement, her big moment really in history, she thought she was making some big bold decisions. She thought she was going to turn things around. She knew, she'd worked it out, what was going to happen, what she was doing, and where the Labour Party were going to take the country. And she knew that the Tories have been taking us in the wrong direction, and I've been sitting poring over these figures, and I know what to do. But that's not true. If you take a look at this picture here, Rachel Reeves sitting beside the Prime Minister and Prime Minister's questions, you'll see a very different face. The job has aged her in quite a short space of time, and I believe she's bearing the brunt of the weight of responsibility of the job. She's correct to do that because it is a weighty role she's taken on. She's taken on the management of the United Kingdom's finances. 70 million people, or however many people are on the country. She's decided that she understood the economy and business and tax and how to turn everything around. She'd worked it out, and she thought she was the best person for that job. And just on an instinctual level, just instinct tells you that that's not the case. Just like when you look at Keir Starmer, for me anyway, there's an instinctual revulsion isn't the right word. It's like a magnet that when you try and put it together pushes itself apart. I'm kind of not connected to Keir Starmer in any way. You look at Keir Starmer and there's nothing that's likeable about the man. You look at Rachel Reeves, and I don't think Rachel is a bad person. She's just another person who lives in this country, and I'm not going to make this personal, but in terms of the job and the job she's taken on, she stood up to that. She stood up and said, I am the person that's going to deal with that. And far too often in life, people get away with being rubbish at their jobs. And then they just say, oh, well, I'll step down, or I'll do this, or I'll go back to what I was doing. Rachel's in a different position. She's affected this economy, and she's quite probably going to put this country into a recession. A big recession, and a harsh, brutal one at that. Nobody knows how long it's going to happen, but it is going to happen. Now, for some context, I myself run a small business with my wife, and we've run that for many years, and we enjoy running that business. So I do speak to a lot of businesses on a daily basis. It's what I do. And in speaking to businesses, what you'll find is that businesses are extremely worried about the future. Businesses require clarity. Businesses require that the future is known, and they need to feel like the economy and the government isn't going against who they are. This government is not a friend to business. It's talking a talk about growth, but most businesses understand that we're in deep trouble. A lot of small businesses, which are, I might add, the backbone of this economy, you may say, oh, well, big businesses, they make up a large proportion, and they do. However, big businesses tend to be much more tax efficient than small businesses because they have armies of accountants that they can call on. So small businesses tend to pay their fair share in tax, and they are what's called the engine of the economy. They are where a lot of tax comes from. Not all, but a fair amount of the taxes that are used to fund all public services and public sector workers comes from small business, and they are worried. This cliff edge coming up in April has only just started to take effect. I was speaking to a recruiter last week, a friend of mine, and he's just a person that works in this recruitment agency, and he speaks to businesses and he tries to get jobs for people, and it looks as if some of those people in that business are going to be laid off. According to him, there's nothing happening in the jobs market. Basically what's happening is businesses have paused. They haven't walked away from the job market because they can't. They do need people ultimately. But in this time of uncertainty, there's a lot of businesses just paused recruitment. They've paused investment and they've paused everything else. There's other taxes going on to businesses, like what happens if a business owner dies, for instance. There's extra tax going on there, forgetting about the inheritance tax. So businesses in general are extremely worried. And final point I'll make, when you're looking at the cabinet in general, it's extremely worrying that none of them have ever run a business or been involved in the private sector mostly. I mean, we can say Rachel Reeves has worked in the private sector, but she's never ran a business. Nobody in this cabinet understands business, and that's extremely worrying. It's extremely worrying because they don't understand what it's like to wake up in a cold sweat in the middle of the night and think, can I continue to do this? How am I going to pay people? Where's our future going? Is it even worthwhile me doing this? Running a business is hard, and the uncertainty that's been created by this government, floating ideas constantly. Oh, we might do this. Oh, we might do that. That was happening at the back end of last year, particularly in the lead up to the budget. And this worried businesses no end. And they're even more worried now. And it looks like Rachel Reeves's plan isn't going to work out. And so what's she going to do? Well, she's going to be increasing taxes at the next budget. I think everyone knows that. And this further increases the wariness and uncertainty. And in uncertain times, businesses don't flourish. It's really straightforward if you want to create growth. And any of us could create growth in the government if we were there by doing what I'm about to describe. If you want to create growth, all you do is reduce taxes on business, reduce some of the regulations involved, and get out the way. All of this talk about businesses and the government saying, oh, we're going to do growth, we're going to do this. Government's got nothing to do with it. All the government has to do is get out of the way and reduce taxes, and growth will happen. But there's no growth going to happen under this current leadership because it's not able to happen. Thanks for your time.